All right, guys, happy Sunday. Despite it being a very dark and gloomy Sunday where I am in the great city of Chicago at the moment, how are you guys doing? MLS kicked off this weekend. Some MLSers will make the top 10 because let's face it, it was a quiet week for USMNT players abroad, especially. How are you guys doing? Archer says, so is Nathaniel Brown confirmed? I don't know. I mean, I'm hearing the same rumors that you guys all are are saying. So I hope so. The signs are pointing in a positive direction, but I don't have any inside sources saying, he's confirmed or not confirmed. I'm just hearing the same rumors that you guys are hearing. Berhalter lost his Fire debut. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Through trying to play out of the back with players that are not capable of doing so. So this is going to be a long, long season for Chicago Fire fans unless Berhalter changes. But those of us who are diehard USMNT fans know good and well, change and Berhalter are polar opposites. New rumors, says Judgmental Deity. I haven't heard any new rumors. Have you guys heard new rumors? Callan says, successful first Berhalter hate watch. Hey, at least Guti got a brace. He will make the top 10. You probably guessed that already. Liam Davis playing out of the back with incapable center backs. This feels familiar. Yep. And he's not going to change, which means it's only going to get worse. It'll work some of the time, and maybe against some weaker teams, he might get some points, but it's feeling overall. Did you see his comments after the game? As a Chicago Fire fan, his comments after the game were just like, I felt like I was reliving the nightmare. He was like, yeah, we created a lot of chances and we think that but I have the quote somewhere. I'll pull it up and read it maybe. I can't remember where I saw it. Oh, it was on Calabrese's Twitter. Let me see if I can find it. And I'll pull it up and read it. Because it was so very Berhalter. And by the way, anybody in this comments is going to be like, oh, stop talking about Berhalter. I'm a Fire fan. I can still talk about Berhalter if I want. Also, even if I wasn't a Fire fan, 6 years of my life was wasted on this man. I'm going to be petty for a while. Okay? Get used to it. Let's see. Calabrese, who does good work covering the Fire, by the way. He had the quote from Berhalter. Let's see. Classic Berhalter. He goes, you can't win a game if you give up 4 goals. Well, unless you score 5 goals, Berhalter. And if the positives are that we create a number of chances. If we limit that, we're right in this game, potentially winning this. If you notice everything's about potential. Overall, bitterly disappointed with the result, but proud of the effort. So just a lot of like coach speak. Yeah, we were right there. He wants you to always believe you were right there, right? You were right there. If we had just scored like 3 more goals, we would have won that game. That was the only thing stopping us from winning the game. So, on another day, if we score 3 more goals, we win that game. And here's the other thing. If we don't concede 4 goals, we win that game. So we're right there, So classic Berhalter quote. I'm looking forward to his quotes as the season progresses because it could be quite fun. Not doing the Greg voice for that quote. Look at Pete being so respectful to other cultures. No, did I not do it? I'm doing it again. We're doing it again just for the boys at Scuffed. You can't win a game if you give up 4 goals. The positives are that we created a number of chances. And, if we limit that, we're right in this game, potentially winning this. Overall, look, bitterly disappointed with the result, but, proud of the effort. Yep, there's your Berhalter voice. What up, Nard Dog? James says, Pete, did you see Marsh is getting a lot of dual nationals like Promise David and Daniel Jebison? Should we be worried? I think Canada's a threat whether they get those guys or not. Like, they're going to be a threat in Nations League, especially if they have their starting lineup of all their top players, which is a very good starting lineup. And Jesse Marsh is a good coach for Canada, especially the way they want to play, and they're well drilled. So if we get to the final, which we should, it's going to be a tough game. Whether we play Canada or not, we'll see. But if I had to put money on it right now, I'd probably say Canada wins. I'd probably say Canada wins that game. So whether or not they get Promise David and Jebison, who would both be great additions, look, I think it's good for CONCACAF to have a strong Canada. I want a strong Mexico too. Mexico hasn't been strong in a long, long time, but we need them to be for our sake, for the region's sake. We need Jamaica and Costa Rica and Panama to be strong. They're not. But, the more actually, the better players our opponents have, the better for us. Because, like I said last week, for better or for worse, we're stuck in CONCACAF. And so the only hope is that we can, have better opponents to play. Marsh don't got that dog in him. Marsh is going to be interesting to see, because typically the way it's gone for him is it started well in his tenures as a coach. It started well, and then it's sort of gone downhill towards the end. So it'll be interesting to see how long this streak, does it go all the way to 2026 going well with Canada, and then kind of, or maybe it only went poorly because, he was with the players day in and day out, and Marsh can be a little bit of a character at times. And he's also very stubborn. He doesn't really change things, Did I freeze again? Okay, this is different internet. I literally in Chicago, this is different internet. Sorry, I froze there. This is literally different internet, so I don't know why. Maybe the laptop's the problem. This is a 5-year-old laptop. Maybe I need to get a new laptop, because the freezing used to be an internet. You got to be fucking kidding me. You got to be kidding me right now. More freezing? What the hell is wrong with this shit? I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening here. I thought maybe it was the internet, but I'm in a completely different place. It's not the internet. I'm not in a hotel. I'm at a friend's house. I don't know what is the strength of their internet. We will see. Will Poch bring in Downs with our injuries? Great question. Great question. I don't know. Like, the thing about Poch is he's only been here for so long, so we really have limited data on him. It's just there's a lot of things we don't know. This March camp is, I think, going to be quite telling what he does. And I hope he brings in Downs. I think Downs and Brown are the two priorities to bring in right now, along with possibly Henri Chase down the line, depending on his trajectory. But yeah, I hope so, because with all, with Pepe out, with Balogun out, I really think we need to get Damian Downs in, even if it's just as a backup to Sargent. And frankly, if something happens to Sargent, or if Sargent isn't playing well, which we'll discuss in a little bit, I would probably throw Timo Weah up top. There's like, when it comes to depth, there's like an acceptable level of quality in your depth where if you get to a certain level of the depth, you're better off moving players from other positions into there and shuffling around than like dropping the quality. I'm not saying Downs is that. I'm just saying at some level, you do have to kind of go, is it better to have Weah up top and then maybe put Musa on the right wing? Or, is it better to try Downs there? Haji's not even like healthy right now. So Haji may not even be in March camp. All right, let's jump into this top 10 before we freeze again. So Frankie Westfield, a name that some of you may not know, got his MLS debut. He played as a left back for the MLS Next Pro team last season. It was pretty good for them, got a homegrown contract. And with Nathan Harriel out, actually started at right back against, Orlando City. Played 88 minutes, got one assist, decent little cross. 2 clearances off the line, 3 blocks, 4 recoveries, 1 out of 3 ground duels won, 2 out of 2 aerial duels won. He is 19 years old, Liam Davis. 19. This was his MLS debut. From watching him play, I think he's a good player. I don't know how high his ceiling is necessarily, but credit to Philly, right? They are one of those teams that are actually trying to develop players, and he had a very good debut. A very, very good debut. Why does Westfield low-key look like Brandon Vasquez? His name is Francis Westfield, actually, but everybody calls him Frankie. This was the assist. He got down the right. His first attempt at a cross was blocked, and then his second cross was well-placed, and I think it was Ure who stuck his foot out and put it in the back of the net. So well done to Frankie. He's more of a left back than a right back, but they have Kai Wagner there. So I didn't think he would get many minutes at left back, and turns out he's versatile enough to play right back. Maybe, honestly, a U20 call-up coming for Frankie. Let's see. We need more data on him. Quinn Sullivan, the older of the Sullivan brothers, also got an assist in the Philadelphia Union's thumping. It was not Columbus Crew. There's your Where's Waldo mistake. It was Orlando. Played 90 minutes, got 1 assist, 1 out of 4 successful dribbles, 4 out of 4 tackles won, 5 out of 10 ground duels won. This was actually a good cross. Cut on to his right and chipped it into the far post. Finished very poor goalkeeping, to be frank, but finished quite nicely. Number 8, and by the way, Quinn Sullivan had 17 goal contributions last year. So there's a good chance he could top 20 this year if he keeps playing the way that he is. And look, from a player profile perspective, Quinn Sullivan is not, he's a weird player because is he a winger? Sort of. Is he more of a box-to-box midfielder? He's somewhere in between that. And he tended to work well last season in Jim Curtin's 4-2-2-2. It'll be interesting to see exactly where he shakes out this year, But Alejandro Zendejas of Club America also got a goal in midweek against Leon. Played 84 minutes, 1 goal, 4 out of 4 successful dribbles, and 4 out of 6 accurate crosses. Now, he's having a really strong start to the season. This was a good goal, by the way. Received it outside the box, beat one player, and then scored a really nice belter. It's going to be a situation where if you actually look at the winger depth in this upcoming camp, you have Pulisic, Weah, and then Musa, since we know Poch likes to play Musa at the right wing. Who's going to be that? Typically, the 4th winger would probably be like a Haji Wright, but Haji's still injured. So unless Nathaniel Brown comes in and can deputize at left wing and left back, I would probably recommend Zendejas for now, because Zendejas is playing better for Club America than I've ever seen him play, or at least he's being more consistent. He's had, short spurts where he's played well for Club America, but he's never been productive the way he's been over the last 6 to 8 months. Like, he finished the Apertura last year very strongly, and then now starting the Clausura, he's got 4 goals, 4 assists in like 10 games. So he's really performing well for Club America. And yes, of course, it's Liga MX. We have to keep that in mind, but there is a level, like if you're getting 25, 30 goal contributions a season in Liga MX, you could at least be depth for us, right? Especially considering some of the injuries that we have. Auston Trusty actually played quite well against Bayern Munich for Celtic. 90 minutes, 93% passing accuracy, 7 clearances, 2 headed clearances. They ended up drawing this game 1-1, which knocked Celtic out of the Champions League. But he actually held up quite nicely, particularly, shadowing Kane and doing a really good job of sort of keeping Kane out of that game. 7 clearances, 2 headed clearances, 1 block, 1 out of 2 ground duels, 1 out of 2 aerial duels, 1. It's just movement and reading of the game, really, that was quite impressive in that game. And look, say what you want about the Scottish League. We all know it's not a great league. But here's my question to you guys, and you tell me what you think. Is it better to play, for our boys, from a USMNT perspective, is it better for them to play, let's say, because MLS is 34 games, and at least 20 to 25 of those games are relatively meaningless, right? You can be dead last in the table in May and still make the playoffs. So let's say 20 or so meaningless games, or 10 Champions League games, because that's what they both play. 10 Champions League games is no small amount in terms of experience. Plus, you talk about 4 games against Rangers, which is a very meaningful game in terms of both quality and intensity. So 14 meaningful games against much better opponents than anybody in MLS ever plays. To me, I would still prefer that. I would. I really would. Even though, sure, I think CCV should probably be pushing himself and trying to get out of the Scottish League. But Auston Trusty, if he could stay 1 year there and see how he continues to develop, let's see what's next for him. We actually had a lot of good defenders play well this week. Marlon Fossey for Standard Liège had a really nice assist against Club Brugge for Standard Liège in their 2-1 win. To beat Brugge is no small feat. The best team in Belgium. Played 90 minutes, 1 assist, 2 out of 2 accurate crosses, 6 clearances, 1 interception, 3 recoveries, 3 out of 4 ground duels won, 1 out of 4 aerial duels won, and 2 fouls drawn. Unfortunately, finding the goal was not, the goal that he assisted on is not easy. Belgian League doesn't post highlights for quite a while. And I even scoured Twitter for the highlight. Couldn't find it, sadly. Mark McKenzie of Toulouse had a very good game in their 4-1 thrashing of Le Havre. Played 90 minutes, 96% passing accuracy, which was a match high. 4 passes into the final third. 10 clearances, 1 block, 1 out of 1 ground duels won, and 4 out of 5 aerial duels won. For me, Mark McKenzie and Chris Richards should probably be our pairing for Nations League, at least for Panama, right? They both have had errors in the past. For the national team. But I don't see any better center backs out there right now. I would probably bring obviously Richards, McKenzie, CCV, Trusty, and then Ream as the 5th center back, with the idea that Noah Kaibank should probably replace Ream as the 5th center back at some point. But I think I would like to see, we haven't really seen McKenzie and Richards together under Pochettino. So I'd like to see that. I really would like to see it. Will it work? I don't know. Neither of them is extremely fast, but Richards is also playing very well for Crystal Palace these days. The question is for the national team, as always. So, not all, but there are a few of our players, and I think Richards, certainly in the Berhalter era, has been one of them, who played well for club, but not always so well for the national team. 80s nostalgia guy, Bobby Wood needs a call up soon. Yeah, if you ask Colin Reese, it should be Brandon Bye and Bobby Woods and Andrew Farrell. Those were his boys. This is a Philadelphia Union list. Trusty, Westfield, McKenzie. This is quite true. Brian Gutierrez of the Chicago Fire played 90 minutes against the Columbus Crew, scored 2 goals, had 10 passes into the final third, 1 out of 5 ground duels won, and 0 out of 1 aerial duels won. It feels like Guti has been hoping or trying to have a breakout season for a long time now, although the last 2 years or so, he has sort of been in the shadow of Shaqiri, who was not, a good fit for Chicago Fire, frankly. And so now he gets to play as a 10, and he gets to play as their creative attacking midfielder, and he starts off with a brace, first brace of his career, as Chicago fellow is reminding us. How long, how can he do this season? Can he go for 10 and 10 and then maybe turn this into a move, right? He didn't play particularly well in the January camp. Jar. That is correct. He's 21, so he's not like a prospect anymore. But this needs to be a defining season for him, right? He needs to be able to really show out at the MLS level if he wants to get a move and to continue to develop. So good start for him. These are the goals, by the way. Really nice belter of an opener. I don't know what Patrick Schulte was doing on both of these goals. It's possible that he was short-sighted on this goal, but he dived very, very late because he's literally covering his near post as the ball leaves Gutierrez's foot, and somehow the ball still manages to squeak between him and the post. But still a nice goal by, Guti for sure. And then the second one, he made a little run in behind, and I think it was Jonathan Bamba that fed him. And to be fair, he shot straight at Schulte, and it just went through his legs. It wasn't the greatest goal by any means. It was more of Schulte's fault, but he still managed to get 2 goals, and I'm sure that will be good for his confidence. But Schulte, man, our goalkeeping situation is really in the toilet. Like, it just is. I don't know if anyone's been watching Zach Steffen to start the season. I haven't seen any of him. I know he played one Are there any Colorado fans here or who are watching the replay who can tell us how Stefan has looked in the opening games? Because I'm looking around, I just don't see it. We've got, Turner's still the number one. Diego Cochin should probably be in the top three. And then, Horvath back up in the championship. So then you go to the MLS keepers. It's like, well, Schulte, not, and this is not the first time he's made mistakes, by the way, right? There have been other mistakes last season, plenty of them from Patrick Schulte. Matt Friese didn't really get a look in January camp, which was disappointing. I don't know what Stefan's going to look like this season. Do not start with the Brad Guzan hype, please. I really can't right now. Friese didn't have a great game either, says Chicago fellow. So, yeah, that's our goalkeeping situation, guys. It's not great, especially recently with Schulte not like Brady and Celentano. Like, Brady didn't look good. Celentano's not a great keeper, in my opinion. There's really not much. Guzan's still my number one. Oh, my God. Guzan prop in 2025. You guys, this guy is a traffic cone. I know he finally had half of a good year for Atlanta towards the end, and everybody got all excited. And it was like, we should bring him back because he made some saves. He's not a good keeper. He has actually never in his life really been a very good keeper. And he has been on the decline for a long time, and he's turning back the years for a few months. But please, let's stop calling up geriatrics to be goalkeepers for us. Jesus, guys, chill. I would rather have Stefan than Guzan. I would rather have Friese than Guzan. Heck, I would rather have Jonathan Klinsmann from the Italian second division than Guzan. Okay? Pete just hates Guzan because his bald head reminds him of Triple G. No, I hate Guzan because he's not a good goalkeeper. I know Atlanta fans are going to get mad. at me. And I will say he did quite well in MLS for the last 6 months of the season. But that is 6 months of playing well after about 3.5 years of being, frankly, awful. So please, let's not be prisoners of the moment here. So that is Brian Gutierrez. Chris Richards makes the top three for the first time in a long time. Played 90 minutes against Fulham, no less, of Anthony Robinson. Helped to keep a clean sheet. Has 3 passes into the final third. 1 out of 7 accurate long balls. So still not great with his long passing. Frankly, his passing in general is not great when you really, the Premier League is very punishing. It's very punishing. You don't have time for anything. You have to be very, very, very good. 2 out of 2 ground duels won. 4 out of 6 aerial duels won. So not a bad performance yet again from Chris Richards, who's starting to put together a little bit of consistency now. After his injury, he struggled a bit. It was inconsistent. And then now it's like, okay, we're starting to see a more consistency from Chris Richards, who is, turning 25, I believe. So 24, just turned 25 in February, I believe. And you're hoping that as he gets to 25, 26, we start to see him really improve in the same way that we saw a guy like Anthony Robinson improve, over the course of like his mid to late 20s. I agree Guzan shouldn't be on the squad, but to say he was never good is a bit overkill for me. So when I say good, I mean an MLS, a U.S. starter. Even when he had to back up Howard, it was very nervy. Do y'all not remember Copa America 2026 when he had to come in and play against Argentina and flapped at everything? Even in that Gold Cup in 2015 in the semifinal against Jamaica. I never really thought Guzan was great. I really didn't. Serviceable backup. But even in his prime, he would not have been a good starter for us. He was error prone. That's why he didn't last very long at Villa. All right, so this was encouraging from Chris Richards. So between Richards, Trusty, and McKenzie, we've had some pretty good center back progress, which frankly has been one of our weakest spots recently, on top of goalkeeper as well. Timo Weah for Juventus, who, by the way, was very good today against Cagliari as well. Played 120 minutes against Eindhoven, had 1 banger of a goal, gorgeous golazzo, his 11th goal contribution of the season, 2 chances created, 3 out of 6 tackles won, 8 out of 10 ground duels won, and 2 fouls drawn. He was very good defensively against Noah Lang in that PSV game. I will say, with a caveat, that around the 85th to 90th minute, he really did start to tire. you could see it, and he started getting beat. But up until then, I thought he was very, very good. And today, again, at right back, he played excellently against Cagliari. I have Timo Weah down as my most improved USMNT player this season. And he's always been a very quick straight line winger. But what I've noticed more from him this year, and maybe this is, a partial benefit of playing at right back, is his combination play. His combination play has improved a lot. His awareness of space has improved a lot. His speed of play with his passing and movement has been good. He's been dribbling in field and then he does that thing a lot, even from right back, where he dribbles in field to pull a player with him, allows a teammate to overlap with him, and then cuts it with the outside of his right foot to the teammate. So he's developing a little more diversity to the ways that he attacks here in Juve. And it's just been really encouraging. And by the way, 11 goal contributions from right back. Now, sure, he hasn't played right back all season. Sometimes he's played left back. At times he's played on the wing. But a lot of those minutes have come out of position. So to get 11 goal contributions, including this absolute banger against PSV Eindhoven, this was one touch after a free kick, bounced out. He runs onto it and one touches that into the back of the net. Jesus, Jar, are you just sent by Satan to bring my blood pressure up? Sean Johnson propped in 2025. He's never played a single World Cup game. Don't even start with me. I know you're trolling, but my blood pressure is on thin ice these days. Anywho, fantastic goal by Timo Weah. And I hope he can hit 15 goal contributions this year. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he looks like in Nations League, because he looks like a renewed player, Timo Weah. Joshua Sargent, far and away player of the week for me. Ginger Ninja, Josh Sargent, 86 minutes against Stoke City. 2 goals, both great goals. 5 out of 7 accurate passes. 1 out of 1 ground duels won. 2 out of 4 aerial duels won. This was the first goal. And again, this, the sketch doesn't really show you much. This was sort of a mix-up. The ball came to him, and he had to turn a player from a tight angle, and from a really tough angle and sort of off balance, he still managed to score into the back of the net. So well done to him. But then that was the first goal. This second goal, which he dribbled himself. I thought he should have played to the left, and I remember being like, play it to the left, play it down the line. He didn't do that. He cut inside, cut back onto his left foot, and just curled this into the top corner with his weak foot, no less, which was absolutely incredible. Really, really nice to see from Josh Sargent. Here's the issue. He has got to do this for the national team, right? Because Sargent has in the past been a bit of a head case. And it feels like the form that he's in for Norwich, and he's even talked a little bit about this. He's like, when was it Fark who came in? Yeah, when Fark came in, he told me, look, you're my number one. And that gave me the confidence to know that even if I had a bad game or I wasn't, good in every moment, it didn't let me get into my head. And I knew I had his confidence, and that gave me the confidence to then play freely and play without the weight of expectation on my shoulders. Right. And so that seems like the kind of player that Josh Sargent is that, when he feels confident, when he feels like he has the confidence of the coach and, he feels settled and happy, he plays really well. And the problem is when he has to prove himself, it sometimes feels like he gets a little bit in his head. And that's what it feels like to me for the national teams. Because things he executes no problem for Norwich, it looks like he struggles with the national team. And mostly, let's be honest, this is under Berhalter. So we do want to kind of give him a bit of a clean slate under Poch, except that he didn't look good in the one game he played for Poch either, right? He looked kind of like a disaster. So I'm very excited for Josh Sargent. This is, I think, 16 goal contributions now in 1,600 minutes for Norwich because he had the injury. So he's got a goal or an assist every 100 minutes for Norwich this season, which is, about on par with what he was doing last season. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter until we see what he looks like in USMNT camp. It's kind of Rascality. Yes, goes, Pete, no one looked good in that first game. Everyone was adjusting. Sure. The problem with Sargent is that he hasn't looked good since Qatar, right? Sure, you could argue he hasn't really played many minutes since Qatar either. But really, and even though he looked good in the World Cup, he still hasn't scored a goal in 5 years. And I've addressed this before. The problem is that the Sargent we saw against Pochettino also looked like the Sargent that we often saw for Berhalter. So it didn't feel like there was a difference. Now, look, small sample size. I'm rooting for the guy. I love Sargent. I've actually been one of his biggest advocates. It's getting harder and harder to advocate for him until he does it for the national team. The same way that I love Malik Tillman, but no matter what he does for PSV, if he doesn't do it in the U.S. jersey, it's hard to get excited, right? We get excited as USMNT fans. We get excited, for club players' performances because we know, oh, this is great play. It will translate to the national team. But then if it doesn't translate to the national team, it's like, great, I'm glad you're playing well for X club that I don't care about. But if you don't do it for the national team, then it's hard for me to root for you. Okay. Alexander Roney says, do we need to see Sargent upgrade leagues? The championship isn't that strong. I mean, it's possible. I see some people saying, Premier League. I don't think he's a Premier League striker, guys. The Premier League is so punishing. It really is. And if he is, he's going to end up playing for a relegation threatened team in the Premier League, which means he's not going to get service. And if there's one thing Sargent needs, it's service. So if anything, he should swap the championship for the Bundesliga. The problem is the financial situation in even the championship. For a top goal scorer in the championship, they're going to want 15 mil at least for him. And I don't know that any Bundesliga teams that are Sargent's level are going to be willing to pay that. Fuck, I froze again. All right. Sorry, guys. I don't know why I froze again. Again now. Jesus. Sound is okay. Can you guys still hear me even though I froze? Be good to know if y'all can still hear me. All right. So I don't know what's going on, guys, but I'm going to call it. We're going to call time of death on this stream since I managed to finish the top 10 anyways. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with the internet here, but thanks for watching. Smash the like button before you go. And I will see you guys next Sunday for the top 10. Oh, and I'll be in Cincinnati this week for the Cincinnati-Montagua game. If anybody's there, come say hi. I'm going to be playing. They're playing Montagua. I'm going to be in Cincinnati, so I'm like, I'll go to Cincinnati Stadium. Julian Vivas, I never got your super chat. I never got it, Julian. Oh, wait, did I? Oh, yeah, you did. I saw it. I see it here. How to Testament. Jesus Christ.